December 13th, 1995. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player alive, threw a punch that could have ended his career forever. But this wasn't just any fight. It was a carefully planned trap that nearly destroyed the Chicago Bulls and corrupted professional basketball. The team tried to bury the truth. The media never found out, and for 3 days, it looked like they might get away with it. But they didn't count on a 19-year-old janitor with a mop bucket and the courage to do what was right. This is the story of how Tommy Chen saved Michael Jordan's legacy and exposed the biggest sports conspiracy in history. 2 days later, the clock on the wall showed 9:47 p.m. Most people in Chicago were home watching TV or getting ready for bed. But inside the Chicago Bulls headquarters, 4 men sat around a dark wooden table. The room smelled like old coffee and fear. Jerry Krause wiped sweat from his forehead, even though the room was cold. As the Bulls' general manager, he had seen many problems before, but nothing like this. "What happened yesterday cannot get out," Krause said. His voice shook like a leaf in the wind. "If the press finds out, we lose everything. The championship, the money, everything." Phil Jackson sat across from him. The head coach was famous for staying calm during tough times. Players called him Zen Master because nothing ever seemed to bother him. But tonight, Phil looked worried. His usually peaceful face showed lines of stress. "Michael threw the first punch," Phil said quietly. But Coach Martinez had it coming. He pushed Michael too far. Jerry Reinsdorf, the team owner, drummed his fingers on the table. He wore an expensive suit that cost more than most people made in a month. His tie was loose and crooked. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The players who saw it, Reinsdorf asked, "Can we trust them to keep quiet?" Steve Kerr was there. So were Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen, Phil answered. They're loyal to Michael. But keeping this secret won't be easy. The fourth man at the table was Tex Winter, the assistant coach. He was older than the others and had seen many basketball seasons. His white hair looked messy, like he had been running his hands through it all day. "In 40 years of coaching, I've never seen anything like it," Tex said sadly. "Michael Jordan getting into a fistfight with one of our own coaches. It's like a bad dream." Outside the meeting room, the hallway was dark and quiet. Most of the building was empty. The cleaning crew had gone home hours ago, but one person was still there. Tommy Chen pushed his mop bucket slowly down the hall. He was supposed to be cleaning the offices, but something made him stop outside the meeting room. The door was closed, but he could hear angry voices inside. Tommy was only 19 years old. He had been working as a janitor for the Bulls for 2 years. It was a good job that paid well and let him be around his favorite basketball team. Tommy loved the Bulls more than anything. He had pictures of Michael Jordan all over his bedroom wall. Tommy knew he shouldn't listen to private meetings, but when he heard Michael Jordan's name, he couldn't help himself. He put his ear close to the door. "Michael Jordan doesn't get into fights," he heard Krause say. "That's not who he is. The fans think he's perfect. If they find out he punched a coach, they'll never forgive him." Tommy's heart started beating fast. Michael Jordan punched someone? That couldn't be true. Michael was his hero. Heroes didn't hurt people. What if we just tell the truth? Phil's voice came through the door. "Say it was a disagreement that got out of hand. Things happen in sports." "Absolutely not," Krause replied sharply. "Michael Jordan sells millions of shoes and jerseys. He brings in hundreds of millions of dollars. Perfect players don't punch coaches. If this story gets out, we'll lose everything." Tommy pressed his ear closer to the door. His hands were shaking. "So what do we do?" Reinsdorf asked. "We lie," Kraus said simply. "If anyone asks, practice was normal yesterday. Michael and Roberto had a coaching discussion. Nothing physical happened. We all stick to the same story." "What about Martinez?" Tex asked. "Where is he now?" "He left right after it happened," Phil said. "Drove away without saying a word. We need to find him before he talks to reporters." Tommy heard chairs moving inside the room. The meeting was ending. He quickly grabbed his mop and started cleaning the floor, trying to look normal. The door opened and the four men walked out. They looked tired and worried. Jerry Kraus saw Tommy and stopped. "How long have you been cleaning here?" Kraus asked. Tommy's mouth felt dry. "Just got here, sir. Started at the other end of the hall." Kraus stared at him for a moment, then walked away with the others. After they left, Tommy stood alone in the dark hallway. His mind was spinning with questions. Michael. Jordan had punched a coach named Martinez. The team leaders wanted to cover it up. But why? What really happened? Tommy looked around to make sure no one was watching. Then he quietly walked toward the coach's offices. Maybe he could find some answers there. But as he turned the corner, Tommy saw something that made his blood run cold. Coach Martinez's office light was on, and through the window, Tommy could see Martinez talking on the phone. Martinez was supposed to be gone, but he was still here. And from the look on his face, he was planning something big. Tommy crept closer to Martinez's office window. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. Through the glass, he could see the assistant coach talking quietly into his phone. Martinez looked around nervously, like he was afraid someone might hear him. "Yes, everything is going according to plan." Martinez whispered into the phone. "Jordan took the bait perfectly. By tomorrow, the whole world will know what really happened." Tommy's hands started shaking. What plan? What bait? He pressed himself against the wall and listened harder. The tape came out crystal clear. Martinez continued, "You can hear every word, every punch. Jordan's going to be finished when this gets out." Tape? Tommy thought. Martinez recorded the fight? Suddenly, Martinez looked toward the window. Tommy ducked down as fast as he could. Had Martinez seen him? Tommy held his breath and waited. After what felt like forever, he heard Martinez's voice again. "I'll meet you at the hotel tomorrow night. Bring the money like we agreed. $50,000, and this tape disappears forever." Tommy's eyes went wide. Martinez was going to sell a recording of Michael Jordan's fight for $50,000. But why would someone pay that much money for a tape? The phone call ended. Tommy heard Martinez moving around inside the office. He had to get out of there before Martinez came outside. Tommy grabbed his mop bucket and ran down the hallway as quietly as he could. His mind was spinning with questions. Who was Martinez talking to? Why did they want a tape of the fight? And, most importantly, what was this plan Martinez mentioned? But before Tommy could figure out any answers, he needed to understand what happened 3 days ago. How did Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player in the world, end up punching a coach 3 days earlier? December 12, 1995, United Center Practice Facility. The Chicago Bulls were having the best season anyone could remember. Michael Jordan had returned from playing baseball and looked better than ever. The team had won 20 games and only lost 2. Fans were going crazy with excitement. Everyone in Chicago believed another championship was coming. But inside the practice gym, things were starting to feel tense. The Bulls players were running through their usual drills. Michael practiced free throws at one end of the court. His shots went through the net with perfect accuracy. Swish, Swish, swish. He never missed. Assistant coach Roberto Martinez stood on the sideline watching. Martinez was new to the team this year. He had come from the Miami Heat, where he was known for being very tough on players. Some people said he was too tough. Martinez was different from the other Bulls coaches. Phil Jackson was calm and wise. He treated players with respect. Tex Winter was like a grandfather who cared about everyone. But Martinez seemed angry all the time. He yelled at players for small mistakes. He criticized everything they did. "Your form is wrong, Jordan," Martinez shouted across the gym. "You're dropping your elbow on your follow-through." Michael stopped shooting. The basketball bounced once and rolled away. Other players looked over. In 2 years of watching Bulls practices, Tommy had never heard anyone talk to Michael Jordan like that. Not even the head coach. "Excuse me?" Michael said. He picked up the basketball and spun it slowly in his hands. "I said your form is wrong," Martinez repeated, walking closer. "In Miami, we fixed shooting problems like yours all the time." Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman stopped their own. Practice to watch. They knew Michael's temper. When Michael got angry, bad things usually happened to the other team. But this time, the anger was directed at his own coach. Michael walked toward Martinez. The gym got quieter. Even the sound of other basketballs bouncing seemed to stop. "Coach," Michael said in a low voice, "I've made over 7,000 free throws in my career. I think I know what I'm doing." Martinez crossed his arms over his chest. "And I've coached players who shot better percentages than you do." The gym went completely silent. Tommy, who was mopping the floor in the corner, stopped working. He had never heard anyone say they knew players better than Michael Jordan. It was like saying you knew singers better than Michael Jackson, or movie stars better than Tom Cruise. Michael's jaw got tight. His eyes got that focused look he got during games, when he was about to score 50 points. But this wasn't about basketball anymore. This was about respect. "Run it again!" Phil Jackson yelled from across the gym. The head coach could see trouble coming. "Everyone back to your drills." But the damage was already done. Michael and Martinez stared at each other like two bulls getting ready to fight. The air in the gym felt thick and dangerous. Dennis Rodman, who usually loved drama and excitement, looked worried. He whispered something to Steve Kerr, who shook his head sadly. Tommy kept mopping the same spot on the floor over and over. He was trying to look busy while watching the drama unfold. In the corner of his eye, he noticed something strange. Martinez kept reaching into his jacket pocket and touching something small. Whatever it was, Martinez seemed very protective of it. "Let's go, people," Phil Jackson called out again. "We have a game tomorrow night." Slowly, the players went back to their drills, but the tension didn't go away. It hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Michael made 10 more free throws in a row. Each shot was perfect. But after every basket, he glared at Martinez. Martinez wrote notes on his clipboard and smiled. But it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile that meant trouble was coming. Tommy finished mopping and pushed his bucket toward the exit. But as he reached the door, he heard Martinez talking quietly to another assistant coach. "Jordan thinks he's untouchable," Martinez said. "Tomorrow we'll see how tough he really is." Tommy's blood ran cold when he heard Martinez's words. "Tomorrow we'll see how tough he really is." What did that mean? Was Martinez planning to start a fight with Michael Jordan on purpose? Tommy wanted to stay and listen more, but the other assistant coach was walking toward the door. Tommy quickly pushed his mop bucket into the hallway and pretended to clean the walls. As he worked, Tommy couldn't stop thinking about what he had seen and heard. Martinez touching something in his jacket pocket. The way he smiled after arguing with Michael. And now this comment about testing how tough Michael really was. Something bad was going to happen tomorrow. Tommy could feel it. December 13th, 1995, 3:30 p.m., United Center Practice Facility. The next day's practice started like any other. Players stretched and warmed up. Coaches set up drills. The automatic sound system played soft Christmas music in the EDE background. Tommy recognized the song. It was Silent Night, sung by the Chicago Children's Choir. But Tommy noticed that Martinez seemed different today. He kept checking his watch and looking around the gym nervously. Every few minutes, he would touch his jacket pocket, just like yesterday. Michael Jordan was in a good mood. He joked with teammates and made impossible shots look easy. He had no idea what was coming. Practice went normally for the first hour. The team ran plays and worked on defense. Phil Jackson corrected mistakes calmly. Tex Winter helped players with their footwork. Everything seemed fine, but Tommy could see Martinez getting more and more tense. He paced along the sideline like a tiger in a cage. He was waiting for something. At 3:45 p.m., it happened. Michael missed a jump shot. It wasn't a bad shot. The ball just bounced off the rim and rolled toward the sideline. Everyone missed shots sometimes, even Michael Jordan. But Martinez saw his chance. "That's what happens when you don't listen to coaching," Martinez said loudly. His voice echoed through the gym. Every player stopped what they were doing. The only sound was the Christmas music still playing softly in the background. Michael picked up the basketball and looked at Martinez. "What did you say?" "I said, that's what happens when players think they're bigger than the team," Martinez replied. He walked closer to Michael, his hand still touching his jacket pocket. In Miami, players followed orders. Dennis Rodman shook his head and whispered to Steve Kerr, "Oh no, this is going to be bad." Michael bounced the basketball once, hard. The sound echoed like a gunshot. "Coach, you need to watch your mouth." "Or what?" Martinez stepped even closer. Now he was only 3 feet away from Michael. "You'll cry to management, like you always do." That was the moment everything exploded. Michael dropped the basketball and lunged forward. His right fist connected with Martinez's jaw with a sound like a baseball bat hitting a ball. Crack! Martinez stumbled backward, but didn't fall. Blood started trickling from his lip. He was tougher than he looked. "You want to fight?" Martinez yelled, wiping blood from his mouth. "Let's fight!" Martinez swung back. His punch caught Michael on the shoulder, spinning him around. Both men grabbed each other and crashed into the scorer's table. Water bottles flew everywhere. Papers scattered across the floor like leaves in the wind. The table legs screeched against the floor as it slid backward. "Break it up! Break it up!" Phil Jackson ran across the court with Tex Winter right behind him. Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr grabbed Michael's arms. "Michael, stop!" Scottie shouted. "This isn't worth it!" Dennis Rodman, surprisingly, helped pull Martinez away from the fight. For someone who loved drama, even Dennis knew this was going too far. "Get your hands off me!" Michael yelled. His jersey was torn at the collar. There was a red mark on his left cheek where Martinez had hit him. Martinez spit blood onto the gym floor. "This isn't over, Jordan. Not by a long shot." "Yes, it is," Phil Jackson said firmly, stepping between the two men. "Roberto, go to my office, right now." "But coach, he started it. You all saw him throw the first punch." "I said now!" Phil's voice boomed through the gym. Even though he was usually calm, when Phil Jackson got angry, everyone listened. Martinez glared at Michael one more time, then stormed toward the exit. As he walked away, Tommy saw him reach into his jacket pocket and pull out something small and rectangular. Martinez looked at it quickly, smiled, then put it back in his pocket. Tommy's eyes went wide. Martinez had been recording the whole fight. The remaining players stood in shocked silence. They had just watched the most famous athlete in the world get into a fist fight with one of his own coaches. Phil Jackson looked at each player carefully. Nobody talks about this. What happens in this gym stays in this gym? Is that understood? All the players nodded, but Tommy could see the worry in their eyes. How could they keep something this big secret? "Michael, are you hurt?" Phil asked. Michael touched the red mark on his cheek. "I'm fine, but that guy is crazy. He wanted this to happen." "What do you mean?" "He's been picking fights with me for days. It's like he was trying to make me angry on purpose." Scottie Pippen nodded. "Michael's right. Martinez has been pushing everybody lately, but especially Michael." "Well, he's gone now," Phil said. "Let's finish practice and put this behind us." But as the team tried to return to their drills, Tommy kept thinking about what he had seen. The small rectangular object in Martinez's jacket pocket. The way Martinez smiled when he looked at it. The fact that he seemed to want this fight to happen. Tommy had seen enough spy movies to know what that small object was. It was a tape recorder. Martinez had recorded Michael Jordan punching him. But why? As practice ended and players headed to the locker room, Tommy noticed something else. Martinez's car was still in the parking lot. If he had really left in anger, why was his car still here? Tommy decided to find out. He grabbed his cleaning supplies and headed toward the coaching offices. Maybe he could discover what Martinez was really up to. But when he got to Martinez's office, Tommy heard something that made his blood freeze. Martinez was inside, talking on the phone again. "Phase 1 is complete," Martinez was saying. "I got him to throw the first punch, just like we planned. The recording came out perfect. You can hear everything clearly." Tommy pressed his ear against the door. "Tomorrow night at the hotel. Bring the $50,000 like we agreed. After you pay me, this tape will destroy Michael Jordan forever." Tommy's hands shook as he listened through the door. Martinez was selling a tape to destroy Michael Jordan. But who would pay $50,000 for something like that? And why did they want to hurt the greatest basketball player in the world? "The buyer will meet me at the downtown Marriott tomorrow at 8 p.m. Martinez continued into the phone. "Room 1547. Make sure they bring cash, just like we discussed." Tommy heard footsteps inside the office. Martinez was moving around. Tommy quickly grabbed his mop and started cleaning the hallway, trying to look normal. "Don't worry," Martinez said, his voice getting closer to the door. "By Friday morning, every newspaper in America will have this story. Michael Jordan attacks innocent coach. The Chicago Bulls will have no choice but to suspend him." The door handle turned. Tommy's heart almost stopped. He pushed his mop bucket down the hall as fast as he could, without running. Behind him, he heard Martinez's office door open. "Yes, I understand the plan," Martinez said, still talking on his phone as he walked in the opposite direction. "Jordan gets suspended. The Bulls fall apart, and we all get rich betting against them." Tommy stopped moving. Betting against them? Now he understood. Someone was paying Martinez to destroy the Bulls so they could win money gambling on basketball games. This wasn't just about hurting Michael Jordan. This was about cheating and stealing. Tommy waited until Martinez's footsteps disappeared down the hallway. Then he ran toward Phil Jackson's office as fast as he could. He had to tell someone what he heard. Phil Jackson would know what to do. Phil Jackson's office, 4:15 p.m. Tommy knocked on Phil Jackson's door so hard his knuckles hurt. "Come in," Phil's voice called out. Tommy burst through the door. Phil Jackson sat behind his desk, looking tired and worried. His office was filled with basketball books and pictures of past championship teams. "Tommy? What's wrong? You look scared." "Coach Jackson, I heard something terrible. It's about Coach Martinez and the fight." Phil leaned forward. "What kind of something?" Tommy told Phil everything. The phone calls, the tape recorder, the $50,000, the plan to destroy the Bulls by making them lose games. Phil's face got darker with every word. By the time Tommy finished talking, Phil looked angrier than Tommy had ever seen him. "You're absolutely sure about this?" Phil asked. "I heard it myself. Martinez recorded the fight on purpose. He's selling the tape to people who want to hurt our team." Phil picked up his phone and dialed a number. "Jerry, we have a big problem. Get to my office right now. Bring Reinsdorf, too." 20 minutes later, Jerry Krause rushed into Phil's office, followed by team owner Jerry Reinsdorf. Both men looked worried and out of breath. "What's the emergency?" Krause asked. "I was in an important meeting with the league office," Phil pointed to Tommy. "Tell them what you told me." Tommy repeated his story about Martinez's phone calls and the secret plan. Krause's face turned white as he listened. "Oh no," Krause whispered. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." "How bad is this?" Reinsdorf asked. "Terrible," Krause said, starting to pace around the small office. "If Martinez has a recording of Michael punching him, we're finished. The league will suspend Michael for at least 10 games, maybe more." "What about the gambling part?" Phil asked. Krause stopped pacing. "That makes it even worse. If people find out that Michael was set up by gamblers, they'll think our whole team is involved in cheating. We could lose our franchise." Reinsdorf sat down heavily in a chair. "How much money are we talking about losing?" "Millions," Krause said. "Maybe hundreds of millions. Michael Jordan brings in more money than any athlete in the world. If fans think he's a violent cheater, nobody will buy tickets or jerseys anymore." Tommy felt sick to his stomach. He had always thought of basketball as fun and exciting. He never realized how much money was involved, or how many people's jobs depended on the team doing well. "What do we do?" Phil asked. "First, we find Martinez before he makes that deal tomorrow night," Krause said. "If we can get the tape back, maybe we can fix this." "What if we can't find him?" Reinsdorf asked. "Then we deny everything. We say the fight never happened. We say Martinez is lying because he's angry about being fired." "But what about the players?" "Who saw it?" Phil pointed out. "Scotty, Dennis, Steve Kerr. They all witnessed the fight." "They'll keep quiet if they know what's good for them," Krause said firmly. "Their jobs depend on this team succeeding too." Tommy raised his hand like he was in school. Excuse me." The three men looked at him. They had almost forgotten he was there. "What is it, son?" Reinsdorf asked. "I know where Martinez is going to be tomorrow night. The downtown Marriott Hotel, room 1547, at 8 p.m. Krause's eyes lit up. "That's perfect. We can get there first and stop the deal." "Or," Phil said slowly, "we can catch him in the act and prove he was trying to cheat." "What do you mean?" Tommy asked. "If we can record Martinez selling the tape, we can prove he set up the whole fight. Then Michael becomes the victim instead of the bad guy." Reinsdorf nodded. "That could work, but it's risky. If something goes wrong, we could make everything worse." "It's worth the risk," Krause said. "Tommy, you've saved this team. I don't know how to thank you." Tommy felt proud, but also scared. "What happens now?" "Now we plan very carefully," Phil said. "We have less than 24 hours to save Michael Jordan's career and the Chicago Bulls' future." Outside Phil's office, the arena was getting ready. For tomorrow night's game against the Detroit Pistons, workers were setting up chairs and cleaning the court. Fans would fill the seats, expecting to watch their heroes play basketball. They had no idea that their team was fighting for its life. Tommy looked out the window at the city of Chicago. Somewhere out there, Martinez was planning to destroy everything Tommy loved about basketball. But now, Tommy wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was part of the team trying to stop the bad guys. Tomorrow night would decide everything. Tommy walked home through the cold Chicago streets that night. Snow was falling, softly, making the city look peaceful and quiet. But Tommy's mind was spinning with worry. Tomorrow night, everything he cared about could be destroyed. He lived in a small apartment with his older brother Danny. Their parents had moved to Chicago from Taiwan when Tommy was 5 years old. They worked hard at their restaurant downtown and had taught both boys that honesty and hard work were the most important things in life. But tonight, Tommy was thinking about breaking some rules. Tommy's apartment, 8:30 p.m. "Danny, I need to ask you something," Tommy said, as his brother came home from work. Danny Chen was 3 years older than Tommy and worked as a photographer for the Chicago Tribune newspaper. He took pictures of sports games, city events, and sometimes crime scenes. Danny knew a lot about what happened in Chicago. "What's up, little brother?" Danny asked, taking off his coat. "You look worried about something. Do you know anything about Roberto Martinez? He's an assistant coach for the Bulls." Danny stopped, hanging up his coat. "The Bulls coach? Why are you asking about him?" "Just curious. He seems different from the other coaches." Danny sat down at their small kitchen table. "Tommy, Martinez got fired from his last job in Miami. There were rumors about him fighting with players, but that wasn't the real problem." "What was the real problem?" "Money problems. Bad money problems. Some people said he owed gambling debts to very dangerous people." Tommy's stomach dropped like he was on a roller coaster. "What kind of dangerous people?" "The kind who break people's legs when they don't get paid back." Word was that Martinez needed money fast. That's probably why he took the Bulls job for such low pay. Most assistant coaches with his experience make twice as much. After Danny went to bed, Tommy sat alone in his room looking at his Michael Jordan posters. One showed Michael dunking during the 1991 championship. Another showed him holding up 6 fingers for 6 championship rings. In every picture, Michael looked strong and happy. Now Tommy understood what was really happening. Martinez didn't just want to hurt Michael Jordan. He needed money to pay back dangerous people who might hurt him if he didn't pay them. But that didn't make it right. Tommy's parents had taught him that being desperate didn't excuse hurting innocent people. The next morning, December 14th, 1995, Tommy arrived at the United Center 2 hours early. He wanted to find out more about Martinez's plan before the meeting, tonight. Maybe he could discover something that would help save Michael. The arena was quiet except for maintenance workers preparing for tonight's game against the Detroit Pistons. Tommy used his key card to get into the coaching office area. He walked quietly toward Martinez's office. The door was closed, but Tommy could see light underneath. Was Martinez already there? Tommy pressed his ear against the door and heard Martinez talking on the phone again. "Everything is set for tonight," Martinez was saying. "The tape came out perfect. You can hear Jordan threatening me, then the sound of him punching me. No jury in the world would blame me for defending myself." Tommy held his breath and listened harder. "How much did you say the total payout would be?" Martinez continued. "50,000 for the tape, plus another 50,000 if I agree to testify against Jordan in court?" There was a pause while the person on the other end talked. "And if the Bulls lose their next 10 games because Jordan gets suspended, you're Las Vegas friends win how much money? Martinez laughed. $20 million? This is the best business deal I've ever made. Tommy's blood ran cold. $20 million in gambling money. This was much bigger than he had thought. Don't worry about the other Bulls players, Martinez said. Once Jordan is gone, we have dirt on Pippen and Rodman too. Fake stories about gambling and partying. The newspapers will print anything if... It sounds juicy enough, Tommy almost gasped out loud. They were planning to destroy the whole team with lies. I'll see you tonight at 8 p.m. sharp, Martinez finished. Room 1547 at the downtown Marriott. Bring the money in cash like we agreed. After tonight, the Chicago Bulls will never win another championship. Tommy heard Martinez moving around inside the office. He quickly ran down the hallway and hid in a supply closet. A few minutes later, Martinez came out of his office carrying a small briefcase. Tommy waited until Martinez disappeared around the corner, then crept back to the office. The door was locked, but Tommy knew where the maintenance master key was kept. He had used it before when coaches forgot their keys. Inside Martinez's office, Tommy looked around carefully. Papers were scattered on the desk. Coffee cups and food wrappers were everywhere. Martinez was clearly stressed and not taking care of himself. Tommy searched through the desk drawers but didn't find anything useful. Then he noticed something in the trash can. A crumpled piece of paper with a phone number written on it. Tommy smoothed out the paper. At the top, it said, Las Vegas Sports Book, Tony Marconi, Private Line. Tommy's heart raced. This was proof that Martinez was working with gamblers in Las Vegas. But would anyone believe a 19-year-old janitor? He folded the paper and put it in his pocket. Then he noticed something else, a small tape recorder sitting on Martinez's desk, exactly like the one he had seen Martinez hide during the fight. Tommy picked up the tape recorder and pressed rewind. After a few seconds, he pressed play. Martinez's voice came through the tiny speaker. Testing. December 13th, 3:45 p.m. Operation Jordan is about to begin. Tommy's hands started shaking. This was evidence that Martinez had planned the whole fight ahead of time. The tape even had a code name, Operation Jordan. Tommy rewound the tape to the beginning and listened to more. If this plan works, Martinez's recorded voice said, Michael Jordan will be suspended, the Bulls will collapse, and I'll have enough money to pay off my debts and disappear forever. All I have to do is make Jordan angry enough to throw the first punch. This was it. This was proof that the whole fight was a setup. But Tommy realized something terrible. If this tape was in Martinez's office, what tape was Martinez planning to sell tonight? Tommy looked at the tape recorder more carefully. There was a small label on the side that said, Practice Copy. Martinez had made 2 recordings, one showing his real plan and another one that only showed Michael looking like the bad guy. Tonight, he was going to sell the fake version and keep the real evidence hidden. Tommy put the practice tape in his pocket next to the phone number. Now he had proof of Martinez's plan, but he still needed to stop the meeting tonight. He looked at his watch. 2:30 p.m. In 5.5 hours, Martinez would sell his fake tape and destroy Michael Jordan's career forever. Tommy had to find help, and he knew exactly who to call. Tommy ran through the United Center hallways looking for Scottie Pippen. He had to find him before the team left for their pre-game meal. Scottie was the only player who might believe Tommy's story and help save Michael Jordan. Tommy found Scottie in the players' lounge, sitting alone and eating a sandwich. Most of the other players had already left. Scottie always stayed late, too. Watch game film and prepare for upcoming opponents. Mr. Pippen? Tommy's voice was shaking. Can I talk to you about something really important? Scotty looked up from his sandwich. He could see that Tommy was scared and upset. "Sure, kid. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Tommy sat down across from Scotty and took a deep breath. Then he told him everything. The phone calls he had overheard, Martinez's gambling debts from Miami, the plan to sell a fake tape and destroy the Bulls, the $20 million in Las Vegas betting money. Scotty's face got darker and more serious with every word Tommy spoke. "You're absolutely sure about all this?" Scotty asked when Tommy finished. "I have proof," Tommy said, pulling out the practice tape and the crumpled phone number. "This tape has Martinez admitting he planned the whole fight. And this phone number connects him to gamblers in Las Vegas." Scotty examined both pieces of evidence carefully. "This explains everything. Martinez has been trying to start fights with Michael for weeks. We thought he was just a tough coach, but he was setting Michael up the whole time." "What do we do?" Tommy asked. "First, we tell Phil Jackson. Then we figure out how to stop Martinez before he sells that fake tape tonight." Phil Jackson's office, 3 Seath p.m. Phil Jackson listened to Tommy's new information with growing anger. His famous calm meditation face was completely gone. He looked like he wanted to punch something himself. So, Martinez not only provoked the fight, on purpose, Phil said slowly, but he made 2 different recordings, one that shows his real plan and one edited to make Michael look guilty. "That's right," Tommy said. "And if Martinez owes money to dangerous people, they might be the ones behind this whole plan. Destroying the Bulls could be worth millions to gamblers who bet against us." Phil picked up his phone to call Jerry Krause, but his secretary had bad news. "Mr. Krause left for the airport 2 hours ago," she said. "He's flying to New York for emergency league meetings about the new salary cap rules. He won't be back until tomorrow morning." "What about Mr. Reinsdorf?" Phil asked. "He's at the same meetings. All the team owners and general managers are there." Phil hung up the phone and looked at Scotty and Tommy. "We're on our own until tomorrow, and Martinez is making his deal tonight at 8 p.m. "So what do we do?" Scotty asked. "We need help," Phil said. "But it has to be someone we can trust completely. Someone who won't go to the newspapers if this plan goes wrong." Scotty got a strange look on his face. "Actually, I know exactly who to call." "Fortitron, Chufrain Manban Fori." PM, Dennis Rodman's house. Dennis Rodman's house looked like a rainbow had exploded inside it. The walls were painted bright colors, and there were strange art sculptures everywhere. Dennis opened the door wearing a pink bathrobe and had his hair dyed bright yellow. "Scotty, Tommy, Phil," Dennis said with excitement. "What brings my favorite people to my humble mansion?" Phil quickly explained the situation. Dennis's eyes got bigger and bigger as he heard about Martinez's plan. "So you're telling me," Dennis said, "that this Martinez guy tricked Michael into a fight, recorded it, and now he's selling a fake version to destroy our team?" "That's exactly right," Tommy said. "And you want me to help stop him?" "We need someone to follow Martinez tonight and catch him in the act," Scotty explained. Dennis jumped up and down like a little kid. "This is like being in a spy movie. I always wanted to be a secret agent." "Dennis, this is serious," Phil said. "If Martinez sells that tape, Michael could get suspended for the rest of the season. We could lose the championship." I know," Dennis said, but he was still grinning. "Don't worry, Coach. I'll catch this bad guy and save the day. It'll be fun." Third p.m. United Center parking, garage. Tommy was taking out trash when he saw Martinez loading a metal briefcase into his car. The assistant coach looked nervous and kept checking his watch every few seconds. Tommy hid behind a garbage truck and watched. Martinez pulled out a small tape recorder and listened to part of it. Even from 30 feet away, Tommy could hear Michael Jordan's angry voice coming from the tiny speaker. "Coach, you need to watch your mouth." Then came the sound of the punch and the fight. Martinez smiled and put the tape recorder into his metal briefcase. He locked the briefcase with a small key and put it in his car trunk. Tommy watched Martinez get in his car and drive away. Then he ran back inside to find Scotty and Dennis. Players' Lounge, 6:15 p.m. "He just left with the briefcase," Tommy told them breathlessly. "I heard part of the fake tape. It only has Michael's voice sounding angry. Then the fight. You can't hear Martinez provoking him first." Scotty wrote down Martinez's license plate number that Tommy had memorized. "Good work, kid. Now we need to follow him and see exactly who he's meeting with." "Are you sure we shouldn't call the police?" Tommy asked. "And tell them what?" Dennis said. "That a coach recorded a fight? That's not against the law. We need to catch Martinez actually taking money for the tape." Phil nodded. "Dennis is right. We need proof that this is all about gambling and cheating, not just a coaching disagreement. Plus," Scotty added, "if we call the police now, and we're wrong about something, the story will leak to the newspapers anyway. Michael's reputation will still be ruined." Dennis stood up and put on a long black coat and dark sunglasses. "Don't worry, team. Agent Rodman is on the case." "Where did you get that outfit?" Tommy asked. "I bought it after watching a James Bond movie last week. I figured it might come in handy someday." 7 p.m. Downtown Chicago. Dennis drove his bright red sports car through the city streets, following Martinez's sedan from a safe distance. Scotty sat in the passenger seat trying to stay low, and Tommy hid in the back with a baseball cap pulled down over his eyes. "There he is," Dennis said, pointing ahead. "He's turning into the Marriott Hotel." They watched Martinez park his car and walk into the hotel lobby carrying the metal briefcase. He looked around nervously before going inside. "Now, what?" Tommy asked. "Now we follow him and find out exactly who he's meeting with," Dennis said. "But we have to be sneaky about it." "How do we get into the hotel without being seen?" Scotty asked. Dennis grinned and pulled a fake mustache out of his coat pocket. "Leave that to me. I came prepared for everything." Hotel lobby, 7:30 p.m. 3 unlikely spies walked into the fancy hotel lobby. Dennis wore his fake mustache and thought he looked completely different. Scotty and Tommy tried to hide behind large plants and fake palm trees. They watched Martinez walk to the elevator. The floor indicator showed he was going up to the 15th floor. "How do we find out which room he's going to?" Tommy whispered. "Watch and learn," Dennis said confidently. Dennis walked up to the front desk like he owned the hotel. "Excuse me," Dennis said to the young desk clerk in a fake deep voice. "My business partner Roberto Martinez just went upstairs, but I forgot which room we're supposed to meet in." The desk clerk looked confused for a moment. Then his eyes got wide. "Wait a minute. Aren't you Dennis Rodman from the Chicago Bulls?" No, Dennis said, adjusting his fake mustache. "I'm his cousin, Kenneth Rodman. Totally different person. We just look similar." The desk clerk wasn't fooled, but he was excited to meet a famous basketball player. "Oh, wow. This is so cool. Can I get your autograph?" "Sure," Dennis said. "But first, can you remind me which room Martinez went to? I really need to get to this business meeting." "Room 1547, the desk clerk said eagerly. "He's meeting with some men who checked in this afternoon. They said they were from Las Vegas." Dennis signed a napkin with his fake name and waved Scotty and Tommy over. "Room 1547, he whispered. "And get this, The guys he's meeting are from Las Vegas. Tommy felt his stomach drop. This confirmed everything about the gambling conspiracy. But now they had to figure out how to stop a meeting between Martinez and dangerous criminals without getting hurt themselves. As they walked toward the elevator, Tommy realized something terrible. If these men were from Las Vegas and involved in $20 million worth of illegal gambling, they weren't just cheating. They were probably dangerous enough to hurt anyone who got in their way. Tommy's heart pounded as they rode the elevator to the 15th floor. What if these Las Vegas men were really dangerous criminals? What if they had guns? Tommy had watched enough movies to know that people who gambled with $20 million didn't play around. "Maybe we should call hotel security," Tommy whispered, as the elevator climbed higher. "And tell them what?" Scotty asked quietly. "That we think someone might be doing something bad? We need real proof first." Dennis adjusted his fake mustache in the elevator mirror. "Don't worry, little man. I've been in plenty of fights. If these guys try anything, I'll protect you." "Dennis," Scotty said seriously, "these aren't basketball players. If they're real criminals, fighting won't help us." The elevator stopped at the 15th floor with a soft ding. The hallway was long and quiet, with fancy carpet and dim lighting. Room 1547 was at the very end. They crept down the hallway like characters in a spy movie. Dennis kept trying to walk in a cool, secret agent way, but his bright yellow hair made him easy to spot. When they reached room 1547, they could hear voices inside, but the words weren't clear through the thick hotel door. "How do we get closer without being seen?" Tommy whispered. "Air conditioning vent," Dennis said immediately. "I saw it in a movie once. You crawl through the vents and listen from above." "Absolutely not," Scotty said firmly. "We're not crawling through dirty air vents like some cartoon characters." "Then, how about we just listen at the door?" Tommy suggested. They looked around to make sure no one else was in the hallway, then carefully pressed their ears against the door. The voices became much clearer. "The tape is just the beginning of our plan." A man with a deep, scary voice was saying, "Once Jordan gets suspended, the Bulls will fall apart like a house of cards." "How much money are we talking about?" That was Martinez's voice, sounding nervous and excited. "If Chicago loses their next 10 games, we'll make $20 million from our Las Vegas bets. Your $50,000 is nothing compared to that kind of money." Tommy's eyes went wide. $20 million? That was more money than he could imagine. "What about the other Bulls players?" Martinez asked. "Pippen and Rodman are still good enough to win games without Jordan." "Don't worry about that," the deep voice said with a mean laugh. "We have plans for them too. By the time we're finished, Chicago won't win another game for the rest of the season." Scotty grabbed Tommy's arm. His face was pale with anger and fear. "After Jordan gets suspended for attacking you," the voice continued, "we'll release fake stories about Pippen's supposed gambling problems and Rodman's wild party lifestyle. The league will have to investigate. More suspensions, more chaos." "But those stories aren't true," Martinez said, sounding worried. "They don't have to be true, you fool. They just have to sound believable. Sports reporters will print anything if it sounds juicy enough. Once we plant the stories, the damage will be done." Tommy realized what was happening. These criminals weren't just trying to hurt Michael Jordan. They wanted to destroy the whole team with lies and fake scandals. They were going to ruin the lives of good people just to make money. "Now let's see this famous tape," the deep voice said. Through the door, they heard the sound of Martinez's metal briefcase being opened and a tape recorder being turned on. "Michael," Jordan's voice filled the room. "Coach, you need to watch your mouth." Then Martinez's voice, but it sounded different than what Tommy remembered. "I'm just trying to help you improve your game, Michael." Then came the sound of the punch and the E, fight, but without Martinez's mean comments that had started it all. "Perfect," the deep voice said. "This will be front-page news tomorrow morning. Michael Jordan attacks innocent coach in violent rage. The Bulls will have no choice but to suspend him." "What about my money?" Martinez asked. $50,000. In cash, just like we agreed. But remember, Martinez, if you ever tell anyone about our bigger plan, you'll end up at the bottom of Lake Michigan wearing concrete shoes." Tommy, Scotty, and Dennis looked at each other with horror. These men weren't just cheating gamblers. They were dangerous criminals who made death threats against people who crossed them. "There's more," the scary voice continued. "Once the Bulls' season is destroyed, we're going to use the same plan on other teams. The Lakers, the Knicks, the Rockets. We'll corrupt coaches, create fake scandals, and bet against every team we target." "How many millions are we talking about total?" Martinez asked. "Over the next 5 years, maybe $100 million. This Bulls plan is just our first test. If it works, we'll have the richest gambling operation in the world." Tommy felt sick to his stomach. These criminals weren't just trying to hurt his favorite team. They were planning to destroy all of professional basketball with their lies and cheating. "I want half the money now," Martinez said. $25,000. "I don't trust you guys completely." "Fine. But if you try to double-cross us or keep the tape for yourself, remember what happened to that soccer coach in Miami last year." "What happened to him?" Martinez asked nervously. "Let's just say he won't be coaching anymore. Ever." Even through the door, Tommy could hear Martinez gulp with fear. "Here's your money," the deep voice said. $25,000 now? $25,000. After Jordan gets suspended. And Martinez? Enjoy spending it while you can. Men in our business don't usually live long enough to retire rich. 10 p.m. Hotel stairwell. The three of them ran down the stairs as quietly as possible, taking them two at a time. "We have to stop this," Scotty said, as they reached the 10th floor. "But how? We can't go to the police without more proof. And we can't get more proof without breaking into that hotel room." "What if we could get the real tape back?" Tommy asked, breathing hard from running down the stairs. "The one that shows—" Martinez planned everything. Without any recording, Martinez has no proof the fight ever happened. "How do we get it?" Scotty asked. "Those men look like they could break us in half without trying." Dennis stopped running and got a huge smile on his face. "Actually, I have an idea. But it's going to require all of us to do something really, really crazy." "How crazy are we talking about?" Tommy asked, afraid of the answer. "Well," Dennis said, "remember how that desk clerk recognized me downstairs? What if we use my fame to cause a distraction?" Tommy and Scotty looked at each other. They could tell Dennis had a plan that was either brilliant or completely insane, maybe both. Hotel stairwell, 8:20 p.m. Dennis sat down on the stairs and pulled off his fake mustache. "Okay, here's my plan. What if I go back to the front desk and tell them I'm Dennis Rodman from the Chicago Bulls? I'll say there are dangerous criminals in room 1547 who are trying to hurt my team. But will hotel security believe you?" Tommy asked. "Kid, I'm Dennis Rodman. I'm famous for being crazy, but I'm also famous for being honest about basketball stuff. If I tell them my team is in danger, they'll listen." Scotty nodded slowly. "That could work. But what if those criminals escape while security is coming up?" "That's where you guys come in," Dennis said with a grin. "While I'm distracting everyone downstairs, you two sneak back up and listen at the door. If they try to leave, you follow them and see where they go. Tommy felt scared but excited. What if they catch us? Then you run like your life depends. On it, Dennis said seriously. These guys aren't playing games. Suddenly, Tommy remembered something important. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the practice tape he had found in Martinez's office. Wait, Tommy said. I just thought of something. This tape has Martinez admitting he planned the whole fight. What if we could play this for hotel security? Then they'd know for sure that crimes are being committed. Scotty's eyes lit up. That's brilliant. If security hears Martinez confessing to a setup, they'll have to take action. But how do we play it? Dennis asked. We need a tape player. Tommy smiled. The hotel lobby has a sound system for background music. I noticed it when we came in. If we can get to the control room, we could play Martinez's confession over the whole hotel's speaker system. That's either the smartest plan ever or the craziest, Scotty said. Why not both? Dennis laughed. Let's do it. Hotel lobby, 8:30 p.m. Dennis walked up to the front desk again, but this time he wasn't trying to hide who he was. He took off his sunglasses and stood up straight. Hi, he said to the same desk clerk from before. I'm actually Dennis Rodman from the Chicago Bulls. I need your help with something really serious. The desk clerk got excited again. I knew it was you. What can I do? There are some men in room 1547 who are planning to hurt my basketball team. They're criminals from Las Vegas who are trying to destroy the Chicago Bulls with lies and fake evidence. The desk clerk looked confused. Are you sure? Should I call the police? Not yet, Dennis said. First, I need you to help my friends get to your sound system control room. We have evidence that proves these men are criminals, but we need to play it so everyone can hear. While Dennis talked to the desk clerk, Tommy and Scotty snuck behind the front desk toward a door marked Staff Only. This should lead to the control room, Tommy whispered. They found the hotel's sound system in a small room filled with electronic equipment. Tommy had helped install similar systems at the United Center, so he knew what to do. Here's the main microphone input, Tommy said, connecting his small tape player to the system. When I press this button, Martinez's voice will play through every speaker in the hotel. Are you sure about this? Scotty asked. Once we play that tape, there's no going back. Tommy thought about Michael Jordan and all the Bulls players who would be hurt by Martinez's lies. He thought about the other NBA teams that these criminals planned to destroy. He thought about his parents, who had taught him to always do the right thing, even when it was scary. I'm sure, Tommy said, and pressed the button. Throughout the hotel, 8:35 p.m. Martinez's voice suddenly echoed through every hallway, room, and lobby in the entire hotel. Testing. Testing. December 13th, 3:45 p.m. Operation Jordan is about to begin. People in the lobby stopped talking and looked around in confusion. Where was that voice coming from? If this plan works, Michael Jordan will be suspended. The Bulls will collapse, and I'll have enough money to pay off my debts and disappear forever. All I have to do is make Jordan angry enough to throw the first punch. Now, everyone in the hotel was listening. Guests came out of their rooms to see what was happening. This recording will show Jordan attacking an innocent coach. But what it won't show is how I plan to provoke him first. I'll insult him, challenge him, and push him until he snaps. Then I'll edit the tape to make myself look like the victim. The 15th floor, Tommy could hear shouting and running footsteps. The criminals had figured out what was happening. The Las Vegas contacts have promised me $50,000 for this tape, plus more money if Jordan gets suspended for the whole season. They're betting $20 million against the Bulls. This is the biggest sports gambling scheme in history. Hotel security guards were running toward the elevators. The desk clerk was calling the police, and Dennis was standing in the lobby with a huge smile on his face. My partner Tony Marconi from Las Vegas Sportsbook has connections with dangerous people. If anyone discovers our plan, he says they'll end up at the bottom of Lake Michigan. But the money is too good to pass up. After we destroy the Bulls, we'll move on to other teams, the Lakers, the Knicks, the Rockets. We'll corrupt coaches and create fake scandals until we control all of professional basketball. The tape ended, and the hotel fell silent for a moment. Then chaos erupted. Police sirens wailed outside. Hotel security was running up the stairs. And somewhere on the 15th floor, 3 very angry criminals were probably trying to escape with their fake tape and $50,000. Tommy looked at Scotty. "Summer team, scientifique. Do you think it worked?" "I think you just saved the Chicago Bulls," Scotty said with a proud smile. But their celebration was interrupted by Dennis running into the control room. "Guys," Dennis shouted, "those criminals just ran out the fire exit. They're getting away, and they still have the fake tape." Tommy's heart sank. They had exposed the plan, but Martinez and his criminal partners were escaping with the evidence that could still destroy Michael Jordan. The fight wasn't over yet. Tommy's mind raced as fast as his heart. The criminals were escaping, but there had to be a way to stop them. Then he remembered something important from when he had watched Martinez in the parking garage earlier. "The briefcase!" Tommy shouted. Martinez put the fake tape in a metal briefcase and locked it in his car trunk. "So?" Dennis asked, breathing hard from running. "So if they escaped on foot through the fire exit, they couldn't get to Martinez's car. The briefcase with the fake tape might still be in the hotel parking garage." Scotty's eyes lit up. "You're right. They had to run because hotel security was coming up the elevator. They probably didn't have time to get the briefcase." Three of them ran toward the hotel's parking garage as fast as they could. Behind them, they could hear police sirens getting louder and louder. Hotel parking garage, 8845. The parking garage was dark and filled with shadows. Cars were parked in neat rows under dim fluorescent lights. Tommy looked around frantically for Martinez's sedan. "There!" Tommy pointed to a dark blue car in the far corner. "That's Martinez's car." They ran toward the car, but stopped when they heard footsteps echoing through the garage. Someone else was coming. "Hide!" Scotty whispered. They ducked behind. A large SUV just as 3 men came running down the ramp from the hotel. Even in the dark, Tommy could see that one of them was Martinez. The other 2 were bigger and looked very dangerous. "Where are the car keys?" one of the big men demanded, in the same deep voice Tommy had heard through the hotel room door. "Eat you, my jacket pocket," Martinez said, fumbling around nervously. "I can't find them. They must have fallen out when we were running." "Find them now," the other big man shouted. "The police will be down here any minute." Martinez got down on his hands and knees, searching the concrete floor for his keys. The 2 criminals stood over him, looking angry and impatient. "There!" Martinez said, grabbing something shiny near a tire. "Found them!" He ran to his car and opened the trunk. Tommy could see the metal briefcase sitting inside. "Is the tape still in there?" the deep voice asked. Martinez opened the briefcase and pulled out a small tape recorder. "It's here, the fake recording that will destroy Jordan forever." "Good. Now let's get out of here before—" Suddenly, the parking garage filled with flashing red and blue lights. Police cars were coming down the ramp with their sirens blaring. "Run!" the deep voice shouted. "Leave the car! We'll take the tape and disappear!" Martinez grabbed the tape recorder and slammed the trunk shut. The 3 criminals started running toward the emergency exit on the other side of the garage. Tommy knew this was their last chance. If those men escaped with the fake tape, Michael Jordan's career would still be ruined. Someone had to stop them. Before Scotty or Dennis could stop him, Tommy jumped out from behind the SUV. "Hey!" Tommy shouted as loud as he could. "Those men have stolen property. They have a fake tape that belongs to the Chicago Bulls." The criminals stopped running and turned around. When they saw Tommy, the big man with the deep voice started walking toward him. "Kid," the man said in a scary voice, "you should have minded your own business." But Tommy wasn't backing down. He thought about Michael Jordan and all the times his hero had faced impossible odds. Michael never gave up, even when things looked hopeless. "That tape is fake," Tommy shouted. "Martinez edited it to make Michael Jordan look guilty. The real recording shows that Martinez started the fight on purpose." "Shut up, kid," Martinez said, but his voice was shaking. More police cars were entering the garage. The officers were getting out with flashlights and radios. "Police! Nobody move!" an officer shouted through a megaphone. The criminals looked around frantically. They were trapped between the police cars and Tommy's group. "Give us the tape," Dennis demanded, stepping out from behind the SUV. When the criminals saw Dennis Rodman, their eyes got wide. "You're that basketball player," the deep voice said. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here to protect my teammate," Dennis said firmly. "And this kid is braver than all three of you combined." Scotty appeared next to Dennis. "It's over, Martinez. The police heard your confession on the hotel speakers. Everyone knows about your plan." "You don't understand," Martinez said desperately. "These men will hurt me if I don't give them what they want. I owe them money, dangerous money." "Then you should have thought about that before you tried to destroy an innocent man's career," Scotty replied. The police were getting closer, surrounding the criminals with bright flashlights. "Drop whatever you're holding and put your hands up," the police officer commanded. The two big men looked at each other, then at Martinez. The deep voice spoke quietly to his partner. "We're not going to prison for this small-time operation. Let's give them what they want." To Tommy's surprise, the big man reached over and took the tape recorder from Martinez. "Here, kid," the deep voice said, tossing the tape recorder to Tommy. "Keep your fake evidence, but Martinez still owes us money, and we always collect our debts." "You can't just leave me here," Martinez shouted at his criminal partners. "Watch us," the other big man said. "You got caught. That's your problem now." Two criminals raised their hands as the police approached them. But Tommy could see they weren't really worried. They probably had lawyers and bail money ready. For them, this was just a business setback. But Martinez looked terrified. He was shaking and sweating, even though the parking garage was cold. "Please," Martinez begged the police officers. "These men made me do it. They threatened to hurt me if I didn't help them." "You can tell your story at the police station," the officer said, putting handcuffs on Martinez. "You have the right to remain silent." As the police led the three criminals away, Tommy looked at the tape recorder in his hands. This little device had almost destroyed Michael Jordan's career and the Chicago Bulls' championship hopes. "Is it really over?" Tommy asked. "Not quite," Scotty said. "We still need to make sure the real truth gets out. People need to know that Michael was set up." Dennis put his hand on Tommy's shoulder. "Kid, you just saved the Chicago Bulls. Do you realize that?" Tommy looked around the parking garage. Police cars were everywhere. Officers were taking pictures of Martinez's car and the briefcase. And tomorrow newspapers would tell the real story about what happened. "I just did what was right," Tommy said quietly. "That's what heroes do," Scotty said with a smile. "They do what's right, even when it's scary." But as they walked toward the police officers to give their statements, Tommy noticed something that made his stomach flutter. Several news vans were pulling into the parking garage, and reporters were getting out with cameras and microphones. VT story was about to become very public, and Tommy, a 19-year-old janitor, was about to become the most famous person in Chicago sports history. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth about the fight, but they would also know about Tommy Chen, the quiet young man who saved Michael Jordan's career. Chicago Tribune Newsroom. 6:12 a.m., December 15, 1995. Bob Peterson, the Tribune's sports editor, sat at his desk surrounded by coffee cups and crumpled papers. He had been working all night, but not on the story he expected to write. Yesterday, he thought he would be writing about Michael Jordan attacking a coach. Today, he was writing about the biggest sports scandal in Chicago history. Bulls star framed by gambling conspiracy. That was the headline Peterson had decided on. But even he couldn't believe how crazy the real story was. His phone rang for the 20th time that morning. "Peterson here," he answered tiredly. "Bob, this is Jerry Krause. From the Bulls. Have you seen the police report from last night?" "I'm looking at it right now," Peterson said, shuffling through the papers on his desk. Roberto Martinez confessed to everything. The setup, the fake tape, the gambling connection. It's all here. "What about Tommy Chen?" Krause asked. "The kid who exposed the whole thing. He's going to be famous by lunchtime. Every newspaper and TV station in the country wants to interview him." Peterson looked at his computer screen, where he had been typing the story for hours. A 19-year-old janitor named Tommy Chen became an unlikely hero last night when he exposed a criminal conspiracy to destroy the Chicago Bulls. Chen, who has worked at the United Center for 2 years, discovered that assistant coach Roberto Martinez had deliberately provoked Michael Jordan into a fight, then planned to sell a fake recording of the incident to Las Vegas gambling criminals, United Center. 7:20 a.m. Tommy walked through the arena's empty hallways, just like he had done hundreds of times before. But everything felt different now. In a few hours, his name and picture would be in newspapers all over the world. He found Michael Jordan in the players' lounge, sitting alone with a cup of coffee and a newspaper. Michael looked up when Tommy walked in. "There's my hero," Michael said with a smile. "How does it feel to save the Chicago Bulls?" Tommy sat down across from his idol. "I'm scared, Mr. Jordan. What if I said something wrong to the police? What if people don't believe the story?" Michael folded the newspaper and looked at Tommy seriously. "Kid, you did something that took more courage than anything I've ever done on a basketball court. You saw something wrong and you fixed it, even though it was dangerous. But you're Michael Jordan. You're not afraid of anything." Michael laughed. "Tommy, I get scared all the time. Before big games, before important shots, before talking to reporters. The difference is that you don't let fear stop you from doing the right thing." "What happens now?" Tommy asked. "Now you become famous for all the right reasons, and I get to keep playing basketball instead of sitting in courtrooms and league meetings." Phil Jackson walked into the lounge, followed by Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. They all looked tired but happy. "Tommy," Phil said, "I just got off the phone with the NBA league office. Because of your evidence, they're opening investigations into gambling corruption in professional sports. You might have saved more than just our team." Dennis flopped down in a chair dramatically. "Man, that was the most fun I've had all season. We should become professional detectives." "Let's stick to basketball," Scottie said with a laugh. "But Tommy, the whole team wants to thank you. What you did was incredible." Chicago Police Station. 9:00 a.m. Detective Maria Santos looked through the one-way mirror at Roberto Martinez sitting in the interrogation room. The former assistant coach looked small and defeated. "He's been talking for 3 hours straight," Detective Santos told Tommy and his brother Danny, who had come to provide moral support. "Martinez gave us names, phone numbers, bank account, information. This gambling ring is much bigger than we thought." "What will happen to him?" Tommy asked. "He'll probably get 5 to 10 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy. The 2 men from Las Vegas will get much longer sentences. They've been running illegal gambling operations for years." Danny Chen took pictures of his younger brother talking to the detective. "I'm so proud of you, Tommy. Mom and Dad are going to flip when they see the newspapers." "Are they angry?" Tommy asked nervously. "Are you kidding? They're the proudest parents in Chicago. Their son saved Michael Jordan." United Center, 12:00 p.m. The Bulls held an emergency press conference in the main arena. Hundreds of reporters and TV cameras filled the court. Tommy had never seen so many people in one place. Jerry Krause stood at a podium with microphones pointed at him from every direction. "Ladies and gentlemen," Krause began, "yesterday we learned that our team was the target of a criminal conspiracy designed to destroy our season and defraud the NBA. Thanks to the courage of one young man, this plot was exposed before any permanent damage was done." The crowd of reporters started shouting questions all at once. "Where is Michael Jordan? Will Martinez face criminal charges? How much money was involved in the gambling scheme? What about the fight? Did it really happen?" Krause raised his EQ, hand for quiet. "Michael Jordan will speak for himself in a moment. But first, I want you to meet the person who saved our franchise." Tommy walked out from behind a curtain, wearing his nicest clothes and looking terrified. The camera flashes were so bright, he could barely see. "This is Tommy Chen," Krause said. "For 2 years, Tommy has worked as a maintenance employee here at the United Center. Yesterday, his observational skills and moral courage prevented a major crime against professional sports." A reporter shouted, "Tommy, how did you know Martinez was lying?" Tommy stepped up to the microphones. His voice shook, at first, but got stronger as he talked. "I saw Coach Martinez acting strange during practice. He kept touching something in his pocket, and he seemed to want to make Mr. Jordan angry. When I heard him making secret phone calls about selling a tape, I knew something was wrong." "What made you decide to get involved?" another reporter asked. Tommy thought about his answer carefully. "Michael Jordan has been my hero since I was little. But more than that, lying and cheating is wrong. My parents taught me to always tell the truth, even when it's hard." "Were you scared of the criminals?" "Yes," Tommy said honestly. "I was very scared. But Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman helped me be brave. And I knew that if I didn't do something, innocent people would get hurt." Michael Jordan walked out onto the court, and the crowd of reporters went crazy. He put his arm around Tommy's shoulders. "I want everyone to understand something," Michael said into the microphones. "This young man saved my career, but he also saved something bigger. He saved the idea that sports should be honest and fair." "Michael, how do you feel about the fight?" a reporter asked. "I'm not proud that I threw a punch, but I was set up by a man who was supposed to be helping our team. Martinez knew exactly what buttons to push to make me angry. The real tape shows him insulting me and my teammates until I lost my temper." "Will you be suspended?" The NBA has reviewed all the evidence, including Martinez's confession. They've decided that I was the victim of a criminal scheme, not the aggressor. There will be no suspension. The crowd of reporters cheered. Tommy couldn't believe he was standing next to Michael Jordan while the whole world watched. "Tommy, a reporter called out. "What do you want to do now? Will you keep working as a janitor?" Tommy looked at all the cameras and microphones pointed at him. 6 months ago, he was just a quiet kid who cleaned floors and dreamed about meeting his heroes. Now he was standing next to Michael Jordan as hundreds of people hung on his every word. "I like my job," Tommy said simply. "The Bulls are my family. I want to keep working here and maybe go to college someday to study sports management. I want to help make sure things like this never happen again." Michael Jordan smiled and whispered something in Tommy's ear that made him grin. "What did Michael say to you?" a reporter shouted. Tommy looked at the microphones, then at Michael, who nodded encouragingly. "He said that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you are scared. And he said that sometimes the biggest heroes are the people nobody expects." United Center, 6:30 p.m. That evening, the Bulls played the Detroit Pistons in front of a sold-out crowd. Before the game started, Tommy was brought onto the court for a special ceremony. The entire arena stood up and cheered as Tommy walked to center court. Signs in Meethifi. The crowd read, "Tommy the Hero," and "Thank you, Tommy Chen." Michael Jordan presented Tommy with a special jersey that had Chen 1 on the back. "Tommy," Michael said over the public address system, "you proved that heroes come in all sizes and all ages. You saved not just our team, but the integrity of professional basketball. This jersey represents the first number retired for courage instead of basketball skills." Tommy looked up at the crowd of 20,000 people, all cheering for him. He thought about his parents, who were watching from their restaurant. He thought about his brother Danny, who was taking pictures from the sideline. He thought about all the Bulls players who had become his friends. But most of all, he thought about what his mother had always told him. Do the right thing, and good things will follow. As Tommy waved to the crowd, he realized something important. He wasn't famous because he was special or talented. He was famous because he saw something wrong and decided to fix it. And that was something anyone could do. 3 months later, March 1996, the Chicago Bulls went on to win the NBA championship that year, finishing with a record of 72 wins and 10 losses. The best season in basketball history. Tommy Chen became the most famous janitor in America. He received thousands of letters from kids telling him he was their hero. Several colleges offered him scholarships to study sports management. Roberto Martinez was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The 2 Las Vegas criminals received 15 years each. The FBI discovered their gambling ring had been operating in 6 different sports leagues. Michael Jordan finished the season as MVP and led the Bulls to the championship. In his acceptance speech, he thanked Tommy Chen for reminding us all that doing the right thing is more important than winning games. Tommy still worked at the United Center, but now he also studied business classes at night school. The Bulls organization created a new position for him, Special Assistant for Team Integrity. His job was to watch for anything suspicious that might hurt the team or the sport. On quiet nights, Tommy would walk through the empty arena and remember that cold December evening when he overheard a phone call that changed everything. He learned that being a hero wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest or the most talented. Being a hero was about being brave enough to stand up for what was right, even when you were just a 19-year-old kid with a mop bucket and a big heart. And sometimes, that was enough to save the world. We'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and tell us your city or country. It's amazing to connect with viewers from all around the world who love inspiring stories like this one. If this story moved you or taught you something about courage and doing the right thing, please hit that like button. It really helps us reach more people with these meaningful tales. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for many more interesting and inspiring stories that celebrate everyday heroes and the power of standing up for what's right. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Tommy's remind us that anyone can make a difference. And by spreading these tales of courage and kindness, we help create a more aware and compassionate world. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the biggest heroes are the people nobody expects.